So Davy Fitz has been appointed as Antrim senior hurling manager.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
It's a little bit bizarre, a little bit mental, certainly an appointment that nobody saw coming. And one thing I should know, as you're watching this on a Tuesday, I'm recording this on Monday evening. To be fair to Davy Fitz, when he left Waterford, there were a flurry of jobs, there were a flurry of options that were available to him. I mean, he could have went to Dublin. Dublin very much on the cards. Dublin now needing a new manager, or Micheál Donoghue deciding to leave. And we will mention that in this video as well. But of course, yeah, the Westmeath management job was a little bit open with Joe Fortune leaving. People kind of mentioned Antrim, but they thought at the same time, like, for Davy Fitz to go from where he's living in Clare to go to Antrim. I mean, I don't know where he's living in Clare, to be fair, but like if you put into Google Maps the journey from Clare to Antrim, it's a 4.5 hour drive, lads. I mean, that is a mental drive from a Davy Fitz, for him to go to train and coming back and everything else. I mean, the expenses are probably going to be through the roof in all honesty. But look, aside from that, you were kind of thinking, where is he going to go? Because when you look at Davy Fitz, like, this is a man, in all honesty, he cannot sit still. He really can't. Like, if you look at it, he went from playing as a Clare hurler, the Clare goalkeeper, he retired and he went instantly into senior management. Like, he went right into the deep end. To be fair, you have to give him credit for it. Like, you have to admire the balls on him a little bit. Like, to go straight in as Waterford manager. And to be fair, he done a very good job in his first spell. He won a Munster title. He then goes to Clare. He wins an All-Ireland over there. And, of course, then he goes to Wexford and wins a Leinster title. Now, a couple of years ago, when Davy Fitz had left Wexford, I was very much all for bringing Davy Fitz to Dublin, because I really felt like with Dublin's crop of players at the time, with what Davy had done with Wexford, I really felt like Davy Fitz was going to be the man to take Dublin to the next level. Then he goes back to Waterford, and you're thinking, right, he's gone to a team that is pretty decent here. You know, this is a Waterford side that were All-Ireland finalists just a few years previous. Yes, they had a very bad end to things under Liam Cahill, but you're looking at it and thinking, he should be okay here. Like, he should be going into a Waterford job, and he should be able to get this team to tick and improve them and make them better. And it didn't happen. Like, in their first season, they were absolutely terrible. I mean, it looked like one of the worst Waterford teams we'd seen in living memory. Then in his second year, this year, he actually done quite well. Like, things were actually quite positive from a Waterford perspective, and Davy Fitz stepped down, and you were kind of thinking, this is a little bit unusual, for Davy Fitz. Year two, looked like he was finally getting a kick out of Waterford. Just a few days previous to him announcing that he was leaving, Austin Gleeson was being announced as coming back into the Waterford fold. So you're really looking at it and thinking, this is a good scenario for Waterford, and this is a good scenario for Davy Fitz going into 2025. Then he announces he's leaving, like, amongst all the shocks, all the surprises. And, like, he's only had 1 year in that time from when he left as a Clare hurler to now, where he hasn't been in senior management. And even at that, he was with Cork Camogie, I think. He was in the backroom team there. And he was also on RTE every week as well as a pundit. Like, he's always doing something. I mean, Ireland's Fittest Family or whatever it might be. This man is very busy, and to be fair, you have to give him credit for it. Like, he doesn't relax, you know. He's full throttle, wants to go at everything every minute of the week, really, pretty much. But to go to Antrim is just a little bit unusual, and it's a little bit sort of like, don't get me wrong, Antrim is a hugely passionate GAA county, hugely passionate hurling county. In many ways, they're a sleeping giant. Like, when you look at the demographic, when you look at the size of Antrim in comparison to what they've been able to do in football and hurling over the last sort of 5-10 years. And obviously there's numerous reasons for that. The funding in Antrim probably hasn't been there at times. There's also probably bad decisions that have been made behind the scenes from speaking with different Antrim people. And then, of course, the political reasons, which you can't ignore as well. But, like, Antrim is a team that you always look at in a county in terms of hurling. You get Casement Park built, you feel like there's a team there that's ready to explode. You feel like there's a demographic there that's there for them. You know, there's a target market just waiting to buy in to what could be a very good Antrim team. But you're always kind of waiting for it to materialise. You're waiting for younger players to come through. You're waiting for development to happen at underage level. And it just never quite seems to happen, in all honesty. And now you're bringing Davy Fitz in, which, like, let's be honest. I mean, Davy Fitz, like, he's gonna probably say he's passionate about Antrim hurling. You know, he sees the development, he's buying into the project. But let's be perfectly honest, we all know why he is going to Antrim, and let's just say the expenses are probably going to be through the roof. Don't get me wrong, I think this will be good for Antrim in some ways. I mean, especially with some of the younger players like Sean Elliott, Jared Walsh, even the likes of Keelan Malloy, more serious, like veteran players, and even the likes of Sean Elliott, Jared Walsh. I mean, they have been knocking around for a few years, to be fair. But in general, like, that's going to be huge for Antrim. And I do think, like, getting an All-Ireland winning manager into Antrim is going to be huge. Like, there's no doubt about it. And he definitely is going to improve Antrim. He definitely is going to get them better. The question really is, though, like, what is the level, realistically speaking, that he can take Antrim? Like, I think Darren Gleeson was a very, very good manager, and we saw that in his time at Antrim. Like, he got some big, big wins. He took them from a Joe McDonough side right up into a Lee McCarthy team, and now they've been consistently at Lee McCarthy year on year, and the progress has definitely been incremental. Like, it's been slow, but you can certainly see the progress, even with big players like Neil McManus retiring in recent seasons. But you're bringing in Davy Fitz, and you're just thinking, like, when you've got teams in Leinster already, like Galway, Kilkenny, Wexford, Dublin, like, for Antrim, can they make that bridge? Like, can they make that step up? Like, they're not a million miles off it, but at the same time, it just looks very, very unlikely. Will he be able to actually take Antrim to the next level? And will he be patient enough as well? Like, that's the thing. He's coming into Antrim. Like, is this going to be a 1 year thing, a 2 year thing, a 3 or 4 year thing? This project, in my opinion, like Davy Fitz going to Antrim, it just smells so much of Mickey Harte going to Louth, to be honest with you, where he's going to go there for a couple of years, he's going to take them on, he's going to improve them, but at the first sign of a better job, he's going to be gone like the blow of a whistle. Do you know what I mean? He's going to be gone quick, out and out, like razor sharp, to be honest with you. And I think that's not good for Antrim hurling as well. Like, it could do long-term damage. Like, there's always reports about him falling out with players, and even in interviews as well. Like, you can't deny it. He does tend to make it a lot of the time about himself in interviews, and that would just be a worry in Antrim where, like, look, he's going to be the bigger man. He's going to be the main man. He's going to take all the spotlight. And I just think for Antrim hurling in particular, like, do they need that right now? I'm not too sure that they do. There was a lot of talk about him going to Galway as well, and I think Galway fans will probably be quite relieved that he's not going there as Galway manager. I think if he was appointed Galway manager 2 years ago, when the whole Henry Shefflin debacle was coming about, or 3 years ago I think it was, I think things would have been a little bit different then. I think maybe Galway fans would have warmed up to Davy a little bit more, but I think the reality is with Galway is that they have had Henry Shefflin, a Kilkenny man, it's failed. They've had Shane O'Neill, a Limerick man, it's failed. Like, they need to go back to getting Galway managers. You know, they need to go back to their bread and butter. Like, Galway is a big enough county at hurling as it is. Like, they don't need to go for outside men. Like, when you look at Dublin, fair enough, they're getting a whole host of Galway men into their side, and obviously we're seeing Antrim at times getting outside managers in. That's because hurling is not the number one sport in Dublin, and it's, you know, for Antrim as well, like, they could do with outside managers coming in and showing their influence. So it's probably not that big of a surprise that I think Galway have shifted away from Davy Fitz. But, like, I would be curious to know what people think about Davy going to Antrim. Like, I think he can get a kick out of Antrim, he can improve them, but I just don't really know if it's the right appointment overall. Like, is Davy going there for the right reasons? I'm not entirely sure. Like, and is he going to stick it out at Antrim? Because I do think it is a long-term project. Like, look how long Darren Gleeson was there, and, like, look at what he had to endure at times, like getting hammerings at times, week in, week out. Like, it's just going to be entirely different to what we saw with Davy Fitz in comparison to some of his previous jobs. And, like, it is very, very risky, and it could work wonders, but it could also go the other way. And to be honest with you, when you look at Davy Fitz, he done an unbelievable job at Clare. He done a brilliant job with Wexford. But is his style of hurling now, I think it's a little bit outdated, to be honest with you. Like, I think playing sweepers and all this crack, hanging onto the ball for too long, not getting your forwards involved, like dragging your forwards back into defensive positions, leaving one man inside, like, against an ocean of defenders. I don't think that really works, in all honesty. I think when you look at the way hurling's played today, you look at Limerick, you look at Cork, you look at Clare, moving the ball quickly, direct running, fast, getting after teams. We didn't see that with Waterford at times. We saw a little bit towards like the last couple of games when he was in charge, and that's why it was a bit of a surprise that he left, considering that they actually had a decent end to the season. But yeah, like him going to Antrim, you could see sweepers and defensive systems left, right, and centre, and I don't know, like I just think it could really go the other way, to be honest with you. But I'd be very curious to know what Antrim fans think in the comments down below. Elsewhere, Micheál O'Donoghue has left his post as Dublin hurling manager. Not going to lie, a little bit disappointed about this from a Dublin perspective. And again, like this kind of blends in the whole Davy Fitz thing. Like Micheál O'Donoghue, I think he's gone back to Galway. Like, let's call a spade a spade. He won an All-Ireland with Galway. It's his own county. That vacancy is opened up. It can't be a surprise, really, that he's left Dublin. And in many ways, it's actually a bit of a surprise that it hasn't been announced yet, in all honesty. But that's always the risk when you have bigger name managers, because like at the first sign of a better job or going back to their native county, they'll take it. You know, they'll take it in an absolute heartbeat. And I think that's what's happened with Micheál O'Donoghue. And to be fair, you don't really blame him, because with Dublin, like, is he really able to do more than what he done this year? Like, get them to a Leinster final and get them to an All-Ireland quarter-final. Like, there's not really a lot you can do. Like, winning Leinster titles, like, it's happened once for Dublin in the last, like, 60 years where we won a Leinster title. So it's very, very few and far between. So you kind of don't really blame Micheál O'Donoghue for leaving, in all honesty. In terms of the next Dublin manager, like, there are some interesting people out there. There definitely are some interesting names that I think can be in the conversation. Like Davy Fitz was mentioned quite a lot, and there certainly were a lot of heavy rumours about it. Like, when you're talking about expenses and everything else, I mean, going to Dublin would have fitted the profile, you know what I mean? It would have fit right in, I think. But it looks like that's not going to happen, or maybe it will happen if Davy doesn't end up going to Antrim, albeit it looks almost confirmed at this point, and I would be very, very surprised if it didn't happen. But you're looking at some options out there. I think Eddie Brennan would be a very good option, to be honest with you. He's done a lot of work already with Coola in the last couple of years. I think he'd be a very shrewd appointment as Dublin manager. Did a very good job with Laois as well when he was in charge. Actually beat Dublin as Laois manager in an All-Ireland preliminary round game, and that was when Laois were the recently crowned Joe McDonagh Cup champions. So I think Eddie Brennan would be my number one choice, in all honesty. Like, when you're looking outside of that, you do have some other options. I could bring in Matty Kenny back, be a decent shout, but again, it's like, I think we probably should go for something different, in all honesty. Henry Shefflin, I don't think actually would be a bad shout, to be honest with you, just because I think Henry Shefflin, it would be good for his career to go to another county, get some time. Like, I think what Henry Shefflin would be very good at is developing the younger players, bringing them on a bit more. I think he'd have a bit of a point to prove after how things ended at Galway, and I wouldn't be entirely against it, albeit he didn't do a great job at Galway at all, realistically, when you look at it. But I don't think that would be a bad shout either. And one name that I actually wouldn't be against would be Darren Gleeson. And we mentioned the great work that Darren Gleeson done at Antrim. Like, he was patient with them Antrim lads. Like, he stuck there when things were going very, very badly, and he didn't jump ship. That he probably had multiple opportunities to jump ship, and he never did, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I think him coming to Dublin would be a big appointment. The only thing is, Darren Gleeson's probably, like, done his time with one of the lesser counties, so is he gonna, like, wait around now for, say, the Tipperary job, which feels very likely. So, like, that's going to be an interesting one as well. But overall, like, if Eddie Brennan was interested, I would 100% go for him as the Dublin hurling manager, in my opinion. I think he would be an absolute shoo-in. He's already done, as I said, a lot of work with Coola over the last few seasons, and I think that would be, I think he would be a fantastic appointment. But overall, in the comments, like, let me know. Davy Fitz to Antrim, little bit of an unusual one, to be honest with you. Certainly did not see this coming. Will it work? Will it not work? It's hard to know, to be honest. If I have to say it right now, I could see it ending quite badly very, very quickly, to be honest with you. I think he would get a kick out of him probably for a year or two, but I think it would probably nosedive very, very quickly. And I don't know if Davy would have the patience as, say, a Darren Gleeson or many other managers who manage some of the lesser known counties. Or we could all be proven wrong. And to be fair, I've always been a big admirer of Davy. I've always said that he gets a lot of unfair criticism and a lot of unfair stick. It's just when you look back at the last couple of years, you kind of just think, has it gone too far now? Like, has he worn too many bridges? It's kind of hard to know, to be honest with you. But overall, I wouldn't be convinced by the Davy Fitz appointment. I'd be curious to know for yourself in the comments down below. And what do you think about Dublin? Who will be the next Dublin hurling manager? Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And until the next one, I'll see you all later.